How have we been doing this for 3 years?
I don't think we're cool enough to have actual social lives.
Welcome back to Why Won't No One Date These Guys. I'm Naomi Guy,
I'm Joel Guy.
and you are listening to our 3-year anniversary episode, Bonanza. I forgot what the word is. Is it?
Bonanza. Bonanza. You're looking for Bonanza. I was like, is she trying to say Spinoza? Spanakopita picata? The spinach pie? Okay, I can't use Greek.
Spanakopita.
There we go. There's a girl who shops at Trader Joe's consistently. Um, yeah, I feel a little bad because the last two episodes have been kind of celebratory in nature, like very jovial and upbeat. And I'm feeling a little bummed out, listeners, because I came home yesterday and immediately we had to leave to take our new Sphinx cat to the vet. She got spayed last week. She's been a little lethargic, but like not more than usual. She's a pretty lazy cat, and like it appears that her like spay wound got infected, so we had to go take her. She has an abscess. They drained the abscess. They put her on medication. She should be fine. Yada yada yada. But I'm a little stressed out now. And I figure, the one expectation I think people who have listened to those last two episodes have is that I normally sing in the clowns, sing in the clowns, send in the clowns. Boy, I don't even know the song. And you know what?
Oh
That's too rote.
my
I
god.
admit that it's overblown, so I'm not gonna do that this year. There may be a riff on the out of this episode, but like Naomi, I'm gonna spare you of that. Instead, I'm gonna try a very special, relaxing drink. This is Space Tea, the world's first mushroom tea / lemonade. This is supposed to be a very relaxing drink. It is naturally gluten free, if you can believe that, but is brewed with reishi and lion's mane mushrooms. And I think this might suck. I don't hate it. I don't feel relaxed. We'll see how I'm doing at the end of the episode. I don't really taste the lemon. It's there, but it's like very subtle. It's like someone made iced tea, but they only used like a quarter of the powder that you normally use for iced tea. So you're just getting the barest hint of any flavor whatsoever, and it's mostly water. It's definitely a little like earthier, fungilier than like traditional teas, but I'm not like, oh, that's mushroom, all right. I'm definitely not picking up any notes of that. I don't know. It's interesting. Incredibly expensive. I only picked this up because I was at the discount grocery, but it's interesting.
I don't know how you can tell that something is more fungally than other things.
Well, I look at my toes and I'm like, those are more fungally than other things. It's pretty easy. Just that look of disgust. No, that's not true,
You know
but
what's
it
crazy?
could
I've been
be.
staring at you for 3 years now, like once a week, and I just realized today that you have dimples.
Ah, man, on this episode, all the revelations are coming to light. The secret fourth guy sibling is going to come on. We're going to learn which of us was adopted. We're going to find the true secret of the Guy family gold. Oh, man, this is the season finale everyone's been waiting for. All the plot lines have been building up to this. All of the AARG elements that we've embedded in our videos. Yeah, hey, listeners, go back and listen to all of our previous episodes. Every third sentence in the episode, take the first letter from that sentence, and that'll give you 150, 160 odd letters, and it's a word jumble. But if you scramble them properly, if you feed that into like a word decryptor, you're gonna find something truly special. Yeah, so this is the 3-year anniversary catch-up episode, and holy god, it's been 3 years, Naomi.
I that still boggles my mind.
Yeah.
I don't know how the time happened. Like I know it happened, but how?
Well, we kind of started and then we kept going. And then one thing that really helped is we spent nearly a third of a year working on one book last year. So, that chewed up a
So
lot of
true.
time. But
So
I
true.
think to a certain extent, like there will always be content for this for the simple fact that like love is this thing that people want to know more about, People want to know how to be attractive. People want to know how to get people to sleep with them. People want to know what's the best technique for picking up women in a world in which like social interaction is becoming increasingly difficult. And I think there will always be, both good advice, practical advice, and like really horrendous advice being put out there. And then, of course, capitalists capitalizing on this.
You want to talk about the kicker for the Chiefs and that great graduation speech that happened, because that was prime content for Why Will No One Date These Guys.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much we want to dig into that, but yeah, there will always be people saying incredibly offensive stuff, either because they truly believe it, which I think this guy probably does, or because they know that they can gain fans and adoration by stoking controversy. Yeah, so like I don't know, like I don't know if this is a particularly difficult podcast to create because it's not as though the topic we're covering is one that people only discuss in hushed tones. Like everyone has opinions on relationships, everyone has ideas about sex and sexuality, and we're still doing this grand social experiment where we kind of just throw everyone together and let their ideas pour out on social media and in self-help courses and on internet dating sites and kind of figure out what the world looks like from there.
Vibes.
Yeah, I don't know. This is the year where like, look, you cannot be on a dating app unless you're over the age of 30. That is a policy we're pushing. We want the federal government to adopt that. I think until you're age 30, you have no business being in a relationship. And as someone who like is not yet the age of 30, I am committed to that idea too. I'm like, the government needs to put us into camps. They need to re-educate us to figure out what the best way of being, a loving, capable partner is. And then, at the age of 30, you're let out and you can go date with people online. You figured everything out. Yes, there may be some trauma. Yes, there may be some, horrible human rights violations. But at the end of the day, if it makes better happiness, better sex, better relationships, isn't that worth it?
Sure. Okay.
Okay, so Naomi, I do wanna bring this back in a little. I do want to discuss how this podcast has blown up in really weird ways. Now, for listeners, you probably have not noticed us on any best of the year podcast lists. Not for a lack of trying, Phoenix Magazine. But we've achieved some interesting success bouncing up the charts in areas we could never have predicted we would have done well in. We've had a couple of episodes go semi-viral. Every so often, someone discusses like any of the books on the Gift of Fear, and all of a sudden we get like a huge bump in the number of listeners and downloads for those episodes. But as a whole, like our podcast and our episodes download in different regions has achieved like some decent notoriety. So Naomi, I want you to hold on to your pants because we have been on a podcast tracking a platform for the past 2 years, and it's been
Yeah.
pulling all sorts of interesting analytics for us. Do you remember what that platform is called?
I just know that the one that we post our podcast on is the one that I track our episodes on.
Yeah, but there's independent platforms like Chartable, which is the one I'm referencing, that keep track of our podcasts and tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, if not millions of other podcasts as well. And they've found some very interesting stuff. So they produce weekly ratings based off of the amount of interactions, the amount of downloads your podcast has received in different areas. Do you know what our peak ranking is in the United States? Now, I'm not saying this is going to be consistent. Obviously, it can vary. Some weeks will be higher, some weeks will be lower. But what was our peak in the last couple of years?
I have no idea.
Naomi, we were number 3,335 in the most downloaded podcasts out of like 60 million podcasts worldwide.
I want to know, like, what about those other millions of podcasts? Like, are they just getting one or two downloads or zero
Mhm.
downloads? Like, how is that possible? Because we don't get that many downloads.
I think I read a stat somewhere that something like 90 to 99% of all of the apps on the Apple App Store only receive between 1 and 10 downloads, Like, there's a crazy amount of content being produced by people who have access to, technology that would have been very difficult to access, 20 years ago. It's become much easier to be a creator, but that also means that it's become much more difficult to kind of stand out and be like your own thing. So yeah, I think that was probably the week we put out our Julie Gunnagle episode, and for some reason, hundreds of people wanted to listen to Julie Gunnagle, former.
Actually, it was over 1,000 people wanted to listen to Julie Gunnagle.
Sure, but my point is, that not necessarily indicative of our normal success, but definitely a nice place we can pat ourselves on the back. Naomi, in the All United States podcasts, Society and Culture, what is our all-time ranking? So this is a more specific categorization. We're in the Society and Culture group on a lot of social media platforms. I'll give you a hint. It is going to be higher than the previous one because less podcasts are
Yeah.
lumped into that group.
How many podcasts are in this group?
I have no idea.
I'm going to say 453.
Oh, too optimistic. 915. All US
Dang.
podcasts.
Okay.
In the world, all global podcasts. So this is going to be a different metric because, like, I'm going to go out on a limb and say there's probably like podcast platforms that are not included in like a lot of these stats. So it's probably like US based podcasts being downloaded globally is my guess of how they track this. What was our all time ranking?
9,564.
Worldwide, 4,396. We broke the top 5,000 podcasts.
That's like that's a pretty. How many podcasts are there in the world?
Millions. I'm telling you, there's just so many people.
Well, there's
creating
60
content.
million just in the US. Is it?
One stat I did look for and I could not find is the percentage of podcasts that put out a weekly episode. Because some podcasts put out like very inconsistently, like once a month. Some of them are like Patreon supported. So like once they get a certain amount of money, that's when they put out the next podcast. Some people do a podcast for 3 weeks and then they give up on it. Right. So there's going to be a lot of, podcasts that just aren't active that no one's interested in. But there's also going to be a decent number of podcasts that like do have people like us putting out content consistently. So again, world's going to have to be higher for Society and Culture specifically. What do we think we got to? This is not good media in the audio format. I'll spoil it. 1,156. That was our top ranking worldwide in the last couple of years.
Okay.
I think that's pretty good. But Naomi, Chartable allows you to drill down even deeper and look at individual countries' download patterns, right? It can say your IP address that downloaded this is located within these borders. So it can, actually give us a good idea of how popular we are in certain areas. So, in no particular order, here are some of the top in the relationships category rankings we have achieved in the last couple of years. Bhutan, we were 190th. Kazakhstan, 121. Mexico, 201. Again, this is in the relationships category specifically. New Zealand, 147. Qatar, 224th. Saudi Arabia, 205th. South Africa, 172nd. Spain, 190th. Trinidad and Tobago, 71st. Uganda, 63rd. Portugal, 52nd. Iceland, 44th, Croatia, 40th, and for some reason, we were 31st in Indonesia in the relationships category.
Indonesia!
We need to start making more Indonesian content, and that's going to be very difficult because recently I downloaded a Chinese language app, and don't at me, I know that Indonesians don't speak Chinese, but after spending like 10 minutes with an Asian language app, I was like, oh my god, I am never going to be able to learn any Asian language whatsoever. The concept of like tonal languages where like subtle inflections in the same word change the meaning just completely eludes me. I am only familiar with guttural romance languages like German. And so like I have no idea how we're going to produce more pro-Indonesian content, but I'm sure we can come up with some catchphrases that are like yo Indonesia, or like make cutting edge references to their president or prime minister, or look, I don't know anything about Indonesia, I'll be honest.
Um, isn't Bali in Indonesia? I think
If
it
we had enough
is.
money to hire a fact checker, yes, Bali is in Indonesia.
Yeah, so all I'm saying is that I know one more fact about Indonesia than you, so.
I'm proud of you. Uh,
Mm.
and there we have our catchphrase. Let's go do some Molly in Bali. I think that's gonna get the kids coming. They're gonna be pounding out our door, desperate for more content. Like I don't know what they're downloading. It doesn't be that specific. I can't be like, oh, they're really interested in the "Why Women Deserve Less" episode or something. But hey, Indonesia, we're happy that you're supporting our podcast. I'm sure there's more interesting stuff that's more topically relevant, but hey, if you want to continue downloading, we are deeply appreciative of that.
I think you're just like really optimistic. I think the only reason why we're so popular in these countries is because they don't have other podcasts. So we're at the bottom of each of their lists because they only have like 45 or so podcasts in each of these countries.
Have
But we made
access
that
to the
list.
world. They have access to the whole world.
I
I don't.
know.
I mean, maybe it's possible they have internet restrictions that prevent them from downloading certain
Exactly.
content, but I don't think like the majority of podcasts are like 18 plus. You can't access in certain regions.
We
I don't think
definitely
the
are
majority
18
of
plus.
podcasts are, like making fun of like Indonesian rulers or presidents or prime ministers or archdukes. I couldn't tell you. But yeah, no, I think we're deeply appreciative of that. If you have a cultural region you'd like us to shout out, make sure you tell your friends and family back home to download the "Why Will No One Date These Guys" episodes on their most prominent podcast platform. Any other thoughts on that?
No, I'm happy with those results. Woot woot.
I think we need to get to number one in Indonesia by this coming year.
Oh gosh, what is that? We need to like specialize our content. Maybe we should like go to Bali and like write off a trip and do like a
Oh, yeah.
live from the scene sort
Oh
of.
my god. Yes, that is it. We go to Bali and talk about relationships and dating. The Dollop podcast did a tour. I don't know what countries it included. It might have just been Iceland. And they went to
Mm.
Iceland and did a couple of episodes. They may have also gone to the United Kingdom during the same trip. But it turns out no one who does podcasts goes to Iceland. And so they had like sold out venues of, dozens of people. Not a huge amount, might have been hundreds too, but there's just not a lot going on in Iceland. So they were able to just rack up the adoring fans. And everyone was like, oh man, you told about, all of the cool parts of our history, like the corpse pants. And one of the stories they told was like apparently there was magicians who lived in like Iceland back in the day, and they would like dig up corpses and cut off the skin from like your waist down and make pants out of people's skin, and apparently that gave you magic powers. Yeah, little fun facts like that.
Ah, I
So
don't like that story.
we'll do the same for like Indonesia. We'll be like, did you know in Indonesia it used to be that if you I don't know,
We're just
captured a
ripping off the
humpback whale.
dollops. We're ripping off the dollops content. I think we should come up with like romantic related stories.
That's what I'm not saying bring corpse pants to Indonesia. Topically relevant relationship stuff. Yeah, that's it. But yeah, I agree with you. That'll finance some nice vacations. Now I don't think the exchange rate and the cost of living is going to do us many favors. We'll get there and tickets will be priced at like 50 cents a piece or something. But you know what? We will be more than happy to I think be popular in at least one part of the world.
We'll make $3 whole US
Yeah.
dollars.
Okay, Naomi, this is an anniversary catch-up episode. So, as we have done in prior episodes, we have summoned back people who we have brought onto this podcast before to give life and relationship updates. So, without further ado, I think we should let them speak for themselves. Are you ready?
But
That's not the right reaction.
oh, sorry.
There we go. Great. With that, without further ado, I think we should bring on Giselle. Giselle, what's going on?
Hello. Not too much. Just living on that East Coast time.
Yes, Giselle is 3 hours ahead of me, so she has stayed up late so that I can record a quick blurb being like, hey, make
Hardly that
content
late.
for free for our podcast. Giselle, it has been a minute since you last appeared on our podcast. Far, far too long. If I had my way, you'd be on every podcast, even
Oh,
just a guest
shucks.
appearance at the end. And I'm interested. What's been going on in your life? What's new in the world of Giselle romance?
Well, in terms of romance, still single. At this point, I've kind of coined myself chronically single, but it's not really a bad thing. It's really given me the chance to, build my own life. I'm approaching 30 and I moved across the country a few years ago for school, and so it was really an opportunity for me to kind of uproot my life, change a lot of things about my day to day, and hopefully get a better idea of what it is I'm looking for.
Fair, fair. So, full disclosure, Lauren and I were actually in your neck of the woods this last weekend. And so you shared a couple of things with us that I think our listeners will be interested in. Apparently, you have some exciting upcoming, I don't know what to call them, dates, hangouts planned for this coming weekend.
Yeah, so I don't remember if it was addressed in the first time I was on the show, but I am part of the bluegrass community. I play fiddle and banjo. It's a pretty small community, but pretty much everybody knows each other. You've all got your like different city scenes, and everybody overlaps, especially at like big bluegrass festivals. So you get to like hang out with your friends that you haven't seen in a few months or years. So everybody kind of knows everybody from afar. Um, and I'm actually getting together with somebody that I've kind of known, and I'm using known loosely because we literally competed against each other in like a band competition like 10 years ago. And he kicked our asses, but besides the point, I thought he was really good looking and very talented banjo player. So um, I think I must have just like friended him after a few beers that night. And I think periodically over the next 10 years, we didn't ever actually talk in person. But I think periodically over the next 10 years, we kind of like sent each other like random Instagram messages, nothing creepy or weird, just commenting on somebody's story or, oh, are you going to this event? But we have never crossed paths. Well, we've been at the same events, but we've never run into each other. And we've never been talking to the point where we sought each other out.
Oh my God, you've been
So
catfished this entire time. He's a big old catfish. He's a big mouth bass.
he's very much who he says he is.
I actually don't know the answer to this. Have you only been texting? Have you heard him in person? Because I'm suddenly picturing he sounds like Gilbert Gottfried, and you're going to find it out this weekend.
No, we have video chatted and talked on the
Okay,
phone,
okay.
and we've talked on all mediums. So he's very much who he says he is. Also, you can always go on the word of other people in the scene because again, everybody knows everybody. So if I were to
Fair.
go up
Okay.
to one of my friends and be like, "Hey, what do you know about this guy? Any dirt?" They would tell me. So yeah, he reached out a few weeks ago and he decided to shoot his shot and wrote me this really nice message about, I here's what I'm looking for, and I think that potentially we could be compatible, and I would really love to take you out. And I was like, yeah, that sounds great, except for the fact that he lives across the country. Bit of a hiccup there. Um, but he was so committed to testing this out that he went ahead and he scheduled, so he's flying out this way anyway for a tour with the band. And they're meeting up in DC. So he's flying out like 3 days before that starts to come hang out with me before he
Aww.
goes on the tour. So it's kind of a wild first date because again, we've never talked in person.
He could be using a voice scrambler. He could sound like Gilbert Gottfried. I'm so excited for you.
I think I think you're way overblowing. I think he's just exactly who he says he is. And if he's not, I'll come on the podcast next week and tell you.
Okay, that's good to hear. I'm excited to learn this man's actually like 6 inches tall, has been wearing platforms and using clever editing to make it look like he's bigger than he actually is. We got a genuine Stuart Little. If at some point in the
Doubtful.
future you get married to this gentleman, I am burning this podcast and all the tapes. I'm going to be like, oh yeah, we were both like really, really into you from the start. We thought it was going to go great. Never a doubt in our mind that you were a fully fledged human being with a normal voice.
Right? You got to be careful what you say on these, because like what if he were to like search my name and my name's in the notes and find this on the podcast, find me on the podcast and take a listen. So yeah, gotta be careful what you say. But in all honesty, I'm very excited for him to come out here. I think my past handful of dating experiences have been really wishy-washy, where um, they're not really wanting to put in the effort.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's expected that like I would travel to them. Um, and like again, I'm a student. Like, that's not super feasible for me, both time wise and money wise. But this is like the first person in a long time who has suggested the idea and then within a few days completely put together the plan for it. So that feels different right out of the gate.
Damn. So I guess that raises the question, like, what do you feel like your view on relationships is right now? What kind of are you looking for at this point in your life? Obviously, you've touched upon some of this already.
Yeah, I think I'm looking for somebody who's quite independent. Having been chronically single, I have learned to really enjoy my independence and my space and my time. And, I was always kind of independent when I was dating more frequently in my early 20s. But I've definitely grown to love it more and seen the value of it more. So I definitely want somebody who is, has lots going on in their life to match the lots going on in my life.
Sure, sure.
Um, and, definitely looking for somebody who's willing to put in the effort, which, that's clearly, he's clearly already doing that. But, going through past partners that I've dated, it doesn't always feel like it's an equal sharing of the work. So definitely looking for somebody to kind of fill in the gaps, because right now I'm in school, right? So my travel ability is a little bit limited.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so, obviously fostering a relationship requires you actually hanging out. So, looking for somebody to actually put in that effort and really help me make that happen. Help me help them make that happen. Help them help me make that happen.
Oh my god. Good lord. No, I mean all that makes sense. I think I'm at a similar stage in my life, but I'm married already, so I don't have to worry about any of that. Uh, life is I've activated cheat mode. I got the,
Cheat
the big
mode.
head mode, and I got the cheat codes that give me unlimited ammunition. It's all great. Um,
Oh man.
hey, so we are a romantic media podcast, and we often discuss things that we've either seen or read. Are there any good books or movies or TV shows or anything else in the world of romance that you would recommend for our listeners?
Ooh. I mean, I'm not a huge romance novel reader. I read a lot of like nerdy science and medicine books. There's not a lot of romance in that. Um, and as far as like TV shows, I've been rewatching Futurama lately.
Okay,
And
okay.
it's not really romance, but I find the humor of the various romantic relationships in the show to be wildly funny, because they're almost an exaggeration of all the things wrong in relationships that you see. Um, and it's just kind of funny to see it portrayed in such a comical way, because obviously when you're going through that, when a partner's being, annoying or lazy, like it's awful and you hate it. But when you watch them on Futurama go through that, and it's kind of exaggerated. You kind of step back and see the humor in it a little bit better.
Well, there's that expression, and I think theater where it's like the best comedy is tragedy remembered. Like, I did that. I went through that. Oh man.
Yep. Blast from the past watching this show.
Damn. Well, it was good catching up with you. I appreciate you sharing a little bit with our viewers. Depending on how things go, we can either have a very dramatic or a very reassuring catch-up episode in a couple of weeks, sometime prior to 52 weeks when we do our next get-together with friends. But yeah, we're all pulling for you. I know some of our listeners are aware you have, a background in music. And I'm wondering, is there anything you want to plug right now? Any cool things you're working on there?
Yeah, so I am living in Baltimore, and my band obviously still lives in Arizona. They unfortunately did not uproot their lives and move out
How
here
rude.
with me. Yeah,
Yeah.
really selfish. But I have been able to work with them a little bit, and when I go back to Arizona, we coordinate practices, and we are actually playing a bluegrass festival in France this summer, which is
Wow.
very exciting. Yep, it's La Roche Bluegrass Festival. It'll be our biggest travel as a band since we went to Ukraine in 2019. So we're pretty excited to hit the road or hit the
France,
plane,
your days are
hit the
numbered.
air. Oh gosh, yeah, I didn't think about that one. Yeah, but it'll be a great time. Things have changed within the band. Two of our bandmates that are married, have 2 kids now. So this will be the first time that
Yeah.
the kids are coming along. So it's very exciting, but it's given us all a really good excuse to kind of buckle down and really kind of dig into our music again. And if you want to check out the music, it's Cisco and the Race Cars. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Spotify, any platform.
MySpace,
Oh, not
Quibi,
anymore. Nope.
Something awful forums, everywhere.
OnlyFans.
OnlyFans. Yeah, only
Bluegrass
bands.
themed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, it was lovely catching up with you. I hope things go well. And if they don't,
Thank you.
we're a one-stop shop for juicy details.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh, Giselle, what a card.
I
Always.
really want her to say like something really morbid at the end, and you're just laughing about it, like in the take.
If it isn't obvious for our listeners, we pre-recorded these bits. Obviously, it is difficult lining up multiple people to share their relationship stories one after another. Yeah, that was great, Giselle. We always appreciate you coming on. You could exit through the door to the left over there. No, not that door. That's the tiger pit. My God. Okay, without further ado, let us bring on RJ. RJ, it's so good to see you. It's almost as though I haven't been talking to you for the last 10 minutes before I hit record.
It's so good to see you and your sweater and all of those plants. The whole background.
Oh, there's more plants just out of the corner of the camera. I'll show them to you after we're done recording. I am in the atrium of our house. It is 2 doors down from the billiards room, 1 door down from the maid's parlor. I live in an English country estate. It's quite spectacular.
Yeah, and across the fountain from where the cats live.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they have their own wing of the house. They don't get along very well with the hunting dogs, I'll say that.
I've noticed my audio track is much smaller than the spikes on yours. I don't know if that's concerning to you at all.
This is definitely not a metaphor for anything. Anyways, RJ, I have dragged you kicking and screaming back into the studio today to give an update on your life because, for all of our listeners, the question that's been on their mind for the last year is, what is that handsome, charismatic RJ Amsler up to? Is he dead yet? Has he invested heavily in crypto and lost it all? These are the questions that have been flooding our inbox from the day we published our last episode.
Yeah, I've seen from the fanfiction.net page for your show that I'm a frequent character, so a fan
It's
favorite,
mostly
if you will.
RJ/plant.
The past year has been a, just a very standard adulting year. Um, Finished grad school, been working. I had to travel a lot for work, which was fun, but they kept changing the schedule, so I couldn't really plan any of my life until that project was over. And then one day they were like, funding problems, project canceled. Um, so now I'm on another project, which is still not very interesting, but
Do you work at the office in Office Space where they just like fired you a while back and haven't summoned up the courage to tell you?
I actually think so. The other day I brought in donuts because I just don't want people to think of my name first when they're asked like who we should cut. Um, I brought back a bunch of coffee for my mentor from Japan. Oh, I went to Japan. That was probably pretty cool. Brought back a bunch of coffee for my mentor because he continues to shield me from having to do things.
Nice.
Probably, I think it's been less than a year since we got our third cat. So we have a third cat named Chowder. Who's, you may have heard of a foster fail, but this is a cat sitting fail where we were cat sitting, and then they were like, "You can just keep her if you want."
I feel that when you get one cat, when you get two cats, you can say, "Oh, I'm not a cat person," right? Circumstances happen, life got in the way, right? These just, kind of came into my life. Once you're at cat 3, you're a cat person, right? The cat lifestyle has consumed you. You've got 150 cat toys lying around your apartment. You got 4 scratching posts. You got a designer litter box. You buy the fancy food because their stomachs get upset if you get them the cheap store brand stuff with grains in it.
You said all of this ironically, but everything you've listed is true.
Oh, I'm describing my life. There are currently, and this is no joke, there are 3 full-time cats in my house. There are 2 part-time cats that are fosters that are in our house. And then, holy shit, oh my god, there might be a 6th cat in our house, permanent, full-time, starting tomorrow afternoon, because a Sphinx was put up for free for adoption on Craigslist. And my wife, Lauren, has wanted a Sphinx for years, and now we get into the wonderful world of cats without hair, which apparently die really easily. So you have to like bathe them every 2 weeks. You got to like rub oil on their skin. You got to put baby wipes on them to make sure you get rid of all the contamination that otherwise be caught by cat hair. You have to give them a little sweater so that they stay warm in an air-conditioned house, but also you have to put sunblock on them because if they sit in windows too long, they get sunburned.
That's horrifying.
Yeah, it's not a lifestyle anymore. It's like a prison sentence.
Well, when you said die really easily, it took me a while to figure out whether you meant like perish or like their skin is susceptible to staining.
Before we started recording, RJ was telling me how he just purchased a gallon of wood stain, and I was like, RJ, when you have a gallon of wood stain, every problem looks like it's a piece of wood that needs to be stained.
And it appears your cat is one of those problems.
Oh, we're gonna get the marbling out. Oh, it's gonna be wonderful. She's gonna have such a warm, creamy glow. Yeah, it'll be excellent. Hey, listen, so we're a relationship podcast, and Naomi and I have been fervently searching for good examples of romantic media that either is interesting by portraying relationships in, diverse, not typical ways, or helpful by portraying, useful tips about relationships, healthy communication, all of that. Is there any romantic media, books, films, music, video games you've consumed in the last year that you think other people need to take a look at?
Well, my media consumption is in 3 categories. YouTube essays, where the speaker is extremely monotone and talking about a very niche subject.
Mm-hmm.
Anime and sports. So other than, the general romance of America's pastime, most of the anime I watch don't revolve around romance, but they all pretty much revolve around them realizing that friendship is cool.
That's a good
So
message.
that never gets old. But
I'm kind of waiting for like the deconstruction of the genre where there's just an anime piece which is about how much friendship sucks and how much like relying on people is a bad idea and how you're just constantly going to be disappointed.
I would never watch it. I need all of my media to not bum me out or stress me out whatsoever.
Fair is fair. I guess the follow-up question to that is, in the last year, have you learned anything about your relationship, romance in general, communication styles, whatever that you think is useful and helpful that other people should know about?
That's a tough one. Luckily, my partner's not here, so I can speak freely.
Blink twice. Partner was so sick of being stained, just rolling around the house.
No, they were the main stainer for most of these projects.
Okay.
I got like a $2 stand that was made out of wood, like the cheapest possible, like IKEA's throwaways wood. And they were like, "We have the stain. We gotta make it match everything else that we've just stained." And it was horrendous. Anyway,
Nice.
I think wanting to do a lot of things together does not mean you have to do everything together, and I think that pressure kind of coming off of each of our shoulders has been helpful. They're way more of an extrovert than I am. They're actually on their way to a dinner before a play, and I have been here playing RuneScape. So not feeling the pressure to go to things that are not for you, but still being there for the important moments and finding things to do together is an important balance to strike for the long-term health of your relationship.
I think that makes a lot of sense. One thing I read consistently is new mothers feel like when they've had their kid that their identity kind of evaporates. Everyone cares what's the kid up to, what milestones have they reached, what funny things did they say when learning to talk today, and the new mom is like, I'm still a person. Can you buy me a birthday gift? Not, show up to my birthday dinner with like a pack of diapers or whatever else that you've had lying around your house you wanted to throw away. And yeah, I think in a relationship, you kind of have a similar situation where like your identity in like some relationships gets kind of consumed by just doing stuff that your partner enjoys. And it's really important to have, a healthy balance where you're still doing things that you care about that your partner might not necessarily find interesting and engaging to kind of preserve that sense of self. Right. That's not to say doing stuff with your partner is bad. It's just to say, find a healthy balance for your relationship and set boundaries if you feel like your partner is, wanting energy and attention and things from you that you can't necessarily provide.
Yeah, it always helps on the negotiating table when the thing I want to do is baseball. I get out of a lot of social events when I'm like, okay, I'll go to that, but you have to watch baseball with me.
Come on, we can bring the thing of stain. Throw some stain at the players we don't like. That's fair. Well, I appreciate you spending time with me. Any parting words of wisdom? Anything you want to throw in before we hang up this call and move on to the next person in our lineup?
No, but I am glad that our partners talk to each other on Instagram because I don't use social media and I'm bad at answering my phone. So I'm glad that they're still talking and trying to make this Arizona trip work.
I'm not trying to be funny. I did not know our partners talked on Instagram, and now I'm a little concerned. I'm glad they like each other more than we like each other. Yeah, that's look at me and my healthy relationship, my partner doing things I wasn't aware of separate from me. Role models to the end.
Well, the only way I know is because I told Pritzia, hey, we're going to Arizona in November, lock it in. And they were like, oh, did Lauren tell Joel to talk to you? And I was like, maybe?
No!
Okay. Then they happen independently.
Look, my friendships are all predicated on the fact that I am a list guy and I have Microsoft To Do, and every 3 months a reminder pops up on my phone to reconnect with specific people. And if that didn't occur, they'd all crumble. They'd all become ruins. I'd be Ozymandias, King of Kings, look upon my ruins, ye mighty, in despair.
That's actually a really good idea. So I'm still using To Do from whenever you told me about To Do's predecessor. I forget what it was called.
It was called Wunderlist, and when I initially switched over, when it got turned into Microsoft To Do, it took me 2 weeks because I had like 15,000 things that needed to be imported.
Goddamn.
Yeah.
But that's a good idea. I should add all of the reminders for the people that I'm supposed to be talking to.
No, that's my hot tip if people take away anything. Well, thank you so much for spending time with us. We appreciate, once again, you coming back to the podcast. Unlike other guests, you remain welcome. And we will continue promoting. You got any pluggables? You still running that card Instagram account?
I think technically I still have it, but I have come to terms that I can't use any apps that have infinite scrolling.
Fair. No, that's good. I've my phone remains permanently in black and white mode, so I don't get the dopamine. So now I continue scrolling endlessly, but I don't get the sweet oxytocin. I just feel depressed and angry. Best of both worlds. Awesome possum. Well, thank you so much, RJ. Always a pleasure talking to you.
Same to you.
You can't say that, RJ. Oh, what a card. Yeah, boy, riffing is something we've always been good at.
No, I'm just laughing at what you're doing.
Yeah, that's fair. Do you want to queue up your guest?
Yeah. Here's Tazmin. Oh, it's not going to. Okay, cool. Welcome back, Tazmin Smith, to the Why Won't No One Date These Guys podcast. It's been a while since our catch-up episode. What has been going on with you?
Let's see. I don't even remember when the last one was.
I think it was last year's catch-up episode.
Was it like last summer?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Wow. So, since then, I finished my sophomore year of college.
How exciting.
Yeah. Completely changed my major, changed my career path, changed everything, which honestly, best decision I've ever made.
What were you in before and what are you in now?
So I was public health on a pre-dental track.
Okay.
And now I dropped pre-dental and now I'm public health, double major in public health and psychology.
Okay.
Yeah. So the life looks completely different now. I don't want to be a dentist anymore. I want to go on and be, actually, this is so fitting for this podcast, a like marriage and relationships counselor, or like I really want to do like sex therapy.
Okay.
But I think in the beginning I'll definitely start out as like a relationship and intimacy therapist first. So, yeah.
What made you make that decision?
Honestly, my freshman year was really tough. And the science classes are absolutely no joke. And not that I was really expecting them to be, but it was just, I wasn't enjoying school. I wasn't enjoying what I was learning. I wasn't enjoying what I was doing. And it's just really unfortunate that in order to get where I wanted to go, I had to take a lot of classes that weren't necessarily oriented towards that goal.
Mm-hmm.
So I just really was having a tough time, and I took a psychology class my senior year of high school, and it was literally one of the best classes I've ever taken. And it was one of those things where it was like, it was so easy because I was so passionate about it. Like, I actually wanted to do the work for it because I was so interested by it and really cared about it. So I kind of always had that in the back of my head, like, well, if this doesn't work out, what else am I going to do? And then my fall semester this year, I declared a psychology minor. And then eventually I just got to a point where I was like, you know what, I'm completely ready for something else. And I changed and added my psych major. And yeah, again, literally best decision ever.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad that you're happy. Are you seeing anyone currently?
Well, wow. So I guess the last time we talked, I was in a weird, or maybe it had already ended at this point, a weird, like, long distance situationship. And then when I saw the Barbie movie, and you know, when Ken and Barbie are like, what is it, like, low maintenance, long distance girlfriend?
I'm gonna be an awful feminist right now and say that I still haven't seen the Barbie movie.
Oh, okay. So you hate women. That's
Yeah,
fine.
I do.
Yeah, clearly. But when I heard that, I was like, oh my God, like, I was literally this guy's, like, low maintenance, long distance girlfriend, because he was putting no effort in, and it was so long distance, and we weren't together, and it, whatever. But so yeah, wow, that's crazy to think, like, this time last year, that was what was happening. And then all of this school year, just been super single and actually loving it, which is so weird because I'm the type that's like, I really want to be in a relationship. I've been single since I was 16. Like, I've wanted to be in a relationship for so long. And then I got to this school year and was in my, like, I don't even want to say, like, man eater phase, but like, like, I just was like, I don't need a relationship right now. That's not what I'm looking for. And I feel like people are either very, very serious and they're like, I'm only dating to potentially marry you one day, or there's people who are like, I'm literally never going to date you ever. So it's like a weird little middle ground. But I actually went on a date last week for the first time in forever, and I was super hesitant and was like, oh, I just don't know, like, if I'm not looking for a boyfriend, like, what's the point in going on a date? Like, I just don't want to, I don't know, I don't want to give someone, like, the wrong impression, because there's just been so many times where I've thought things were gonna head one way and they didn't, and it was just because, like, I was just given the wrong impression. So I was like, and that sucks. That's like a sucky feeling.
Yeah.
And so I was just kind of like, I don't want to do that if that's going to if it's going to make someone feel that way. But I went, my roommate pushed me and was like, it might be fun. Like, you actually just don't know. So I went and actually had so much fun, and we're going out again tonight. So
That's so exciting.
yeah.
I'm glad that you're being an empathetic dater, though, just because I feel like the vast majority of people that date these days are like, oh, well, I don't know what I'm looking for, and I don't know what I'm doing with my life, and I don't know what I want, and all these different things. And I feel like you're very self-aware, and that's that's a good quality to have when dating. But I totally agree. Dating in your 20s is a fucking mess. Like, either people want to get really serious or they, like, only want to bang you, and that's, like, the two.
Yeah,
The two
it's
ways.
so weird. I'm like, why can't we just enjoy each other's company and have it be about more than sex and less than marriage? Like,
why can't we just spend time together?
Seriously.
Just do things together. I
Literally.
want someone to go to the wine bar with.
Exactly. And then I'm
Yeah.
like sitting here and I'm like thinking, and I'm like, you know, obviously this is really early, but he's been like very clear with his intentions. And I'm just like, I feel bad because I'm like, I can't necessarily always say something back, but I'm like, I don't want to say something that I don't mean. I don't even know where I was going with that. This is why I could never do a podcast. My brain.
Okay.
Like 40 miles a minute, and I'm like, yeah, that thought that I had, completely gone. I'm sure it'll come back 10 minutes from now.
Okay. Well, if that happens, I'll add it in there. I'll be like, Tazmin actually meant this. Okay, well, I really appreciate our quick little catch up, and I hope to see you again on our next year's catch up episode.
I know, seriously. I know, actually, I was thinking about this on my drive home, and I was like, okay, I'm almost 21, like I'm turning 21 in September, and I was thinking back to the first time I was on your podcast, and I think I was like newly 17. Does that sound right? Like, that would have been my junior year of high school?
No, I think you were a senior in high school, because we've been doing this for 3 years now, and our original episode that we had you in was your dating in high school, like dating at a private school.
Oh my God. That's so crazy.
Yeah.
Now it's like completely different, like going to U of A versus going to my small little private Catholic high school, all girls, is so, so different. And I was also thinking about the fallout that I had after that one podcast episode, because I like posted it on my Instagram story to like promote
Yeah.
it, and my ex-boyfriend listened to it. And there's like a section where we talk about him, and he texted me and was like, I can't believe you would like go on a podcast and talk about me. And I was just like, I didn't even say anything bad about you, but also if you don't want to be talked about, don't do anything bad.
Yeah, I mean, like, great point, first of all, but also, like, he's, like, in your past, and, like, if that, like, is the perception that he wants to leave with you, that's fine, but that's, like, so very odd of him. I definitely have definitely posted about my ex-boyfriend my fair share, so. Okay, well, again, thank you so much, and we'll catch up with you next year.
Okie doke.
Wow. I had no idea Tazmin could play the flute that well. What a great bit you've recorded with her, Naomi. Thank you for sharing her talents with the world.
No, I love how we just, like, in the middle of, like, between these little takes, I'm just staring at you blinking silently. You're doing the same thing back to me.
We're having fun. No, I mean, I appreciated that, people could spend time from their busy schedules to update us on what's been going on in their lives. I appreciate that, we've had a decent number of guests. We'll probably be having some more in the coming year. And we still are on friendly terms with a decent chunk of them. They have not all been co-opted by the Joe Rogan show. They still are exclusively appearing on Why Will No One Date These Guys branded content. Also, they're our friends, but it's nice to have reliable backup characters. In case I die in like a horrible flaming accident, one of these
In
people
Bali.
has to assume in Bali. One of these people has to assume my position on the podcast, Naomi. So if anything, they're kind of auditioning every single year. You need to make sure that they're still as interesting and introspective and insightful as they were the prior year, just in case anything horrible happens. So with that, I don't know. This is a catch-up episode. I don't know if you've had any changes and thoughts about sort of the content that we're making or the direction this podcast is going. If nothing immediately comes to mind, I wanted to share a couple of thoughts that I've noticed in the past year.
I just would like to bring back the original idea of eating different types of Oreos on the podcast, which Joel almost immediately shut down this idea because he didn't think that people would want the ASMR of me eating Oreos on camera and trying different types of Oreos. But all I'm saying is that the only issue that I found with it was they don't sell the mini packs of the fun flavors. You have to get the
Yes.
whole pack of
Mhm.
like the big family size pack. And so we made so many cake pops and then we just gave up. But I think we should bring it back.
I agree with you. That is a big problem, right? I have a single of the like novelty Oreos, and I was like, that was fun. And then there's 1,000 additional Oreos in the pack staring back at me, and I'm like, now it's an obligation, which is not fun. I think the second problem is we did discuss this, and I nixed it because I said that's content that should go on an OnlyFans, not on our podcast, right? We need to gatekeep that. And I'm not even let's be clear. I'm not trying to sexualize you. I would be doing the OnlyFans chomping. I just want to get properly compensated for it.
Okay, hold on. What was that one OnlyFans that? No. It was the Feet Finder that was Trader Joe's themed. What was that one called?
Trader Toes.
Trader Toast. I think that we should be only Oreos.
No. Keep working.
Oreos only? Like farmers only, but Oreo.
That's just a dating site for Oreo lovers. That's slightly different. Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, I think one of the problems with us sampling a drink every episode is that we have really no way of like tracking what drinks we like. For a while I was keeping track of like what we had sampled in a spreadsheet, and then I just gave up because I'm like, no one really cares. I don't know. I think that could be a useful, resource for people who are looking for something tasty to sip on, either as they listen to us or as they drown their tears in the horribleness of their relationship. Moving past that, I think to a certain extent, and maybe you disagree, maybe you agree. When we first started this, I feel this podcast was kind of apolitical. And that's not to say we didn't comment on or like have a clear inclination of, what our beliefs were when we initially started. I just think we were a little more reticent to bring up politics. We wanted to do kind of a mass media, everyone can enjoy this and gain helpful tips about STI prevention. Why would we want to gatekeep any of it? Um, and yeah, given the circumstances of the last couple of years, I won't say that we've become
Cynical.
cruel and unkind, but I think we've definitely become a little sterner and grouchier with current events on the episodes. I think we've become a little more open with our leanings. And in fairness, I think a lot of the topics we've discussed point to one obvious conclusion. We keep bringing up this idea that sex ed should be in schools, and like basically every episode we do reinforces the idea that people know jack about relationships, and we really need basic comprehensive sex education everywhere. But, there's other stuff where it's like, hey, relationships suck. Wouldn't it be great if we had some form of universal basic income so people didn't have to stay in abusive relationships for housing? Yeah, that feels like a pretty obvious conclusion. Find me a conservative approach to domestic violence that actually addresses the issue in that manner. What are your thoughts on that?
I think because of when we started the podcast, we were a lot more upbeat and more willing to follow certain themes. And I think that as time has gone on, we've become both cynical as well as more passionate about certain things. And because this is our passion project, this is our baby, it's become more of what we want to talk about. Um, and less about our censoring of our content, which I appreciate just because I think that this is a great outlet for, things that we want to talk about, as well as just getting information out there. For a while during 2020, I was rage posting on my social media, and I had a larger following then. And I'm not saying like by any means I was popular. I'm just saying, but at this point in my social media, I only follow people and let other people follow me that I know. So now it's become a smaller group, but people used to talk to me and be like, yeah, every morning I woke up and like went to your Instagram as my news feed. Like I didn't look at the news. I looked at my like your Instagram. And I was like, okay, that's great, but like what the fuck? So I think that this is a great way to like be ragey in a healthy way.
It's
And
like a
I
punching bag for our voices.
exactly. So it's helpful, but I understand what you mean, but I don't think that in this political climate that we live in the country that we live in, that we can have a apolitical discussion about these topics.
That's fair. The quote that's always brought up with regards to discussions on racism is Martin Luther King's letter from a Birmingham jail, where he talks about how disappointed he is with the quote white moderate. And one of the problems he discusses, and he's by no means alone. Plenty of people, Malcolm X, for example, have spoken at length about this. But there's a real issue with people who say they're apolitical. People who identify as moderates, who say, oh, I don't want to, rustle anyone's feathers. I don't want to, make anyone uncomfortable. And I genuinely think there's some deeply problematic trends happening in our country right now that if you refuse to talk about, you're basically saying, I'm totally okay with that trend. You're giving permission. And one big issue is that people who have reprehensible opinions on all varieties of topics are very proud right now, very open and willing to discuss their reprehensible opinions. And people who are like, no, that sounds fucked up, are less willing to voice their dissent. And so the issue this creates is that media is flooded with all these examples of people professing reprehensible views and not a lot of counterexamples. And I think that it's really important that people who firmly believe in the importance of things like consent or women's autonomy, be willing and vocal about this stuff to prevent others, younger individuals, from getting the idea that the things that are being said publicly and openly are acceptable. Um, yeah, those people, the people who have all the reprehensible opinions can suck shit. There, I said it. Such a strong opposition.
And that's the end of the episode. That's all you need to say.
Well, now that we're done patting ourselves on the back, yeah, I don't know. I feel this podcast has gotten a little harder to do in the last year just because of all of our family obligations. You know, we have schoolwork, we have jobs, we have children in the form of small animals that need to be taken care of, so they don't bleed everywhere. Yeah, it's difficult at times, but I do find it very satisfactory. I enjoy spending time with you on a weekly basis and catching up and venting our mutual disapproval of the state of things.
I definitely agree with that. I enjoy doing this. Sometimes, yes, it does get in the way of, other things that are going on. Like during my winter quarter at UCSD, I was working part-time. I had an internship. I was taking a full course load, and I also had this going on. So it was a little crazy at times, but we made it work. We always do. And I appreciated that we, have continued to spend time together. I don't feel like it's a normal week now if I don't like see your face. So sometimes I'll like turn to Len and I'll be like, oh, I'm kind of sad because like I didn't see Joel this week because we aren't recording together. And he's like, why don't you just call him? And I'm like,
Lynn,
it's not the
can
same.
you put a fake beard on and say, I'm a big nerd, stupid shit. And he does that. And you're like, yes, that's what I needed.
Yeah, that's exactly what I need in order to feel your love and appreciation.
Thank you. So, before we wrap up, I wondered if there was any content you wanted to discuss, which is coming down the pipeline. We just started the more episodes dealing with polyamory. I have a couple of things on the back burner right now. There's some interesting dissections of sexuality in American history and how kind of the public's conception of homosexuality was formed. There's some books on consent and talking with your partner about sex and relationships, and I really like to dig more into that because I think as much as it's helpful to say talk to your partner, a lot of people don't know where to start. And so being able to give some of the tools needed to be successful in relationships is super helpful.
I feel like I'm very interested in, since reading more, very interested in polyamory and, as Joel would say, polygamy. It's not polygamy, it's polyamory. And it is, things like that, swinging, also a part of that group. So just, that, as well as maybe bringing on some abortion providers and talking to them about being in a safe state versus dealing with non-safe states. I would love to dig more into the provider shortage because that is becoming a larger and larger issue. Just read an article recently talking about how residents graduating from med school are no longer picking hospitals to work at that don't provide abortion care because they want full they want a full education, and they won't be able to save certain individuals if they aren't given that full education. So fun topics like that. And yeah, we'll just dig into those, the same old topics, but more information.
One other area that I think is worth exploring is Arizona elections are coming up. And I have reached out to a couple of people to see if anyone is interested in speaking with us about their races, because boy, we got some fun laws on our books and ballot propositions, and there's a non-zero chance that actually Democrats could take control of all three levels of government in Arizona this cycle. But a lot of that requires voter turnout. A lot of that requires activation of people who might be a little bit cynical about national politics. So yeah, I'm gonna try to see if anyone wants to appear on our show. Obviously, we've interviewed people in the past about their experiences and what they were focusing on in government, and I think it's a very interesting perspective, because as much as we like to think that government doesn't get into our bedrooms, government is very present in our bedrooms. Government is very omnipresent in our personal decisions, and what influences how we're able to move about through the world and interact with people in a sexual and healthy manner. So yeah, let's elect some people who don't suck.
It's just Joe Biden standing in the corner while you're having sex with your partner. Just
I mean, that's basically Amazon Alexa. I assume like Jeff Bezos just gets like live video streams of all the Amazon customers.
ew. Why would you say that?
You said Joe Biden's in the corner. I don't know if that's much of an escalation.
Fair.
Listen, Naomi, is there anything else that we need to discuss before we end this annual wrap up, which we'll be doing for decades to come, I'm sure?
I had a great year. Let's do it again.
Aw. Well, I love and appreciate you. I hope things go well. Once you get your public health degree, I'm sure you're going to abandon me and get a big dick city job somewhere.
Yeah,
and...
this time next year, I'll be getting my degree.
Nice. Yeah, you'll be kicking ass, taking names. Once Naomi gets that 6-figure paycheck, she'll abandon me for a better class of people. But until then, it's all smooth sailing. She's stuck with this bozo.
Wow, what a great way to end the episode. Love you so much.
Hugs and kisses.